Today's video is just 100% a follow-up to Monday's video, so don't even ask. It's not like it was a very controversial video. Media critics are apparently on par with Nazi zombies when it comes to being acceptable targets for some reason. But I did actually have a conversation this week with a person that got kind of mad at the whole thing. And it turns out with actually not necessarily no reason at all. They did call me a hypocrite because I do consider myself, some kind of artist with some minute level of artistic abilities, and I really do enjoy reviews. I mean, Jesus, I do reviews on this channel myself. They are some of my most popular videos. And the thing is, this conversation happened in German, where there's not really much of a distinction between a critic and a reviewer linguistically, I think. I might be wrong, but there isn't that I am aware of. And after a while, I was like, wait, hang on. Aren't reviewers and critics just things that people keep separate in their mind because they are very much not the same thing? That is something that people do, right? Well, it turns out, and I only really discovered this when I was checking the comments, that most people kinda don't. As a matter of fact, it would appear as though I am the only person I know that draws a very wide distinction between critics and reviewers and who insists upon this distinction. And I wasn't really aware of the fact that I was doing that until I had that conversation. So I feel like after shitting over critics for a whole video, reviewers should get their fair shake. I mean, I didn't shit over critics that much, really, but for the sake of the argument, let's just pretend that I did. But Burger, really? This, of all of the videos that you should maybe be following up on, this is the one that you choose to issue a correction about within the same fucking week? You actual piece of shit? Yes, and it turns out there's a really good reason for it. And I'll explain it to you and hold on to your seats because this is true. It's a free country, innit? The real reason is that I just kind of got done with my NaNoWriMo on Wednesday, and just within a single 24-hour cycle, my brain has gone into full cabin fever mode because I just don't know what to do if I don't work all the time. I mean, obviously I could continue writing the novel. I'm about like 3/4 of the way through the first draft, but the next chapter is a chapter that I already know I will scrap in the second draft, but I needed to finish the first draft, and it's very irritating, and so I'd rather do this. I know I still have a video that I recorded back in October, like all of the videos that came out this month. It's still on my computer. I was supposed to release it today, but now I can release it next week when there's actually a new month and I can allow myself to get back to work. So when I was editing Monday's video, I was already not necessarily too happy about some of it, and now I know why. There was a distinct lack of nuance in this distinction between critics and reviewers, because I actually do respect reviewers quite a lot. Critics, in my mind, are sort of academics or academically minded people who will analyze certain works of fiction, or let's just say pieces of media, because that is what it ultimately boils down to, under the lens of one specific theory or another, or a synthesis of various theories, or with various theories at the same time. It doesn't really matter, which there is nothing in principle wrong with that. Reviewers, on the other hand, are just people who take a piece of media and they look at it, and then they tell you whether they liked it or not. Now, reviewers may have a lot of overlap with critics when it comes to the kind of skill set that they possess, but ultimately, the focus of their analysis relies much more heavily on the objective quality of the work instead of interpreting things into the subtext of the work. Now, often, of course, reviews do veer over into the realm of critiques a lot. This, I feel like, happens mostly in like big publications, which, me living in the age of the internet, don't really care about that. Most of the reviews that I get from like YouTube videos, blog posts, fucking tweets even, just straight up 5 words about some film, and then I'll know if I'm gonna like it or not. And in our internet age, I find that most reviewers are not actually, like I feel critics are, failed artists, but just also artists who consume creative media. because of course that's what you do when you're an artist. You continue consuming new media so you can get new ideas and learn other people's tricks. And because, you know, you enjoy it. I mean, there's a reason you got into doing whatever it is you do in the first place, and it was probably because you liked consuming that thing. And by the way, yes, I do believe that the quality of a work of fiction is a separate thing from what might be its artistic merit. It is something that is more objectively tangible than just the idea of how valuable it is as a piece of art. It's the craftsmanship of the thing, the techniques used to construct it, the way it is symmetrical, that kind of stuff. For instance, Uwe Boll's Letterboxd account, back when it was still around, which unfortunately it isn't anymore, that was my jam. That was my favorite thing on the internet for a while. And of course, Uwe Boll may not be necessarily the best example for someone who is good at doing the kind of creative work that they're commenting on, but I do respect his opinions on movies, and I just like the way that the reviews were written. What reviewers do is create more informed consumers, and having informed consumers, and even ANCAPs will agree on this, is essential to having a functional marketplace that actually allows for proper competition between products. I mean, of course, the ANCAPs do believe that the point at which massive corporations with huge advertisement budgets are just legally allowed to lie about their products will be the point at which all consumers will somehow magically turn into informed consumers, and that will never happen before that. But that doesn't mean they're wrong about how it's necessary. So by having the expertise to analyze the craftsmanship of a certain piece of media, reviewers skew the market in favor of quality, because the people who follow them and the people who take their recommendations seriously will be more likely to consume products which are of higher quality. This is pretty straightforward. But wait! It's not that simple! Especially when it comes to media, the quality of a product isn't necessarily the primary and definitely not the only measure by which we regulate our buying habits. You know how The Room is just objectively a terrible movie? There's a lot of people who just really unironically like The Room. And that's fine. I too like a lot of pieces of media that just objectively, they're not really good. And there's other pieces of media where you can say objectively it has some degree of quality to it, like for instance, Doctor Who, or most serious anime that I, for some reason, just can't get into. This is why I also split up reviewers into two categories for my personal context. Video Game Donkey is one of my absolute favorite YouTubers that exist. I watch pretty much all of his videos, and not just like the funny ones, but the reviews too. The thing is, our taste in games couldn't be more different. I don't like platformers, I don't like online games, I don't like anything that is remotely weeb-esque. Donkey doesn't like turn-based strategy or builder games. He has explicitly stated that he thinks XCOM is boring as shit. XCOM is one of my all-time favorite franchises of ever. I fucking love XCOM. But I still watch his reviews and I still enjoy them and I still respect his opinion on things because I know he understands what he's talking about. When he says, I like this game, I dislike this game, I am aware that probably we're not going to have a lot of overlap on that, but I still understand that he knows a lot about the principles of game design and which games are well made and which are not. On the other hand of that spectrum, I have friends, and you have these friends also, by the way, who understand nothing about directing and story structure and gameplay design the way that you do that best. But those friends, they come up to me, they say, hey, this film that came out recently, it's really fucking good. And then I go watch the film, and it turns out it actually is really fucking good. I enjoy it a lot. And that's because me and those friends, we have similar taste. And that is just as valuable, if not maybe more valuable, than being able to read an objective critique. I did it right there. I meant review, but I said critique. Oh no! what has become of me? And then of course you have the holy grail type situations where you have a overlap of they like the same things that you do and they also understand what makes those things good. But that's so rare. So yeah, essentially I think reviews and critics are two separate things, and maybe you should consider thinking of them in that way also. I respect reviewers, don't respect critics as much, even though, let's be honest, probably I should. I genuinely had no idea that this distinction existed only in my head. I was convinced I had picked it up somewhere, and I might still have, but not telling you this was a bit of a miscommunication on my part. But hey, I live to learn, innit? And listen, I know the bookshelf looks different. I am fully aware of this. I had to move it because there used to be like carpeted flooring underneath it, and I had to take everything out of it, and like the bottles that are on top of it, because there are bottles on top of this thing, and like a lot of them with a lot of booze. And then when I put it back, I sort of reorganized it to be a bit more efficient and to be a bit more aesthetically pleasing. The problem is, it turns out, it looks kind of naked now. I did buy some books that I wanted to buy anyway to like fill it up a little more, but it turns out books are also expensive, so you're just gonna have to be as patient as I'm also going to have to be until this is filled up to an acceptable degree again. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this follow-up. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, maybe buying some of my merchandise or my book, which is now a much more fluid motion that I can just do it like this. And in that spirit, Epstein didn't kill himself, and see you around, cunts.